Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dave Jones from the Franchise Consulting Company, and I'm delighted to have with me Scott Myers of Austin, Texas. Scott is a former client of mine, former corporate professional, now business owner, and he's agreed to share some of his experiences that he has gone through that you all are contemplating going through. So, Scott, thanks again for joining us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, great. I'm going to ask you a few questions and just give me your honest feedback. Can you share briefly what you did professionally before owning your own five-star painting of Austin, Texas franchise?
Yeah, sure. So I was a commercial real estate broker here in Texas in the three major markets, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. And what that means is I facilitated large office building transactions between institutional buyers and sellers. So, just as a residential broker, buys and sells houses, we bought and sold large office buildings. And that, I say large, our target kind of value is in the $25 to $50 million range. And our timeline on a deal like that is 6 to 9 months. So it's kind of a long transaction timeline. And as a result of that, we were only able to do about 4 to 6 deals a year. So yeah,
That's what you did. All right, great. Thank you. By the way, you're in a great part of the country. It's growing. So real estate is great. Business is great down there in Austin, San Antonio, New Braunfels area. So what was the catalyst that caused you to consider jumping out of that corporate position and being your own boss? And specifically, what kind of led you to franchise business ownership as opposed to independent business ownership?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say that my answer to that is twofold. First is it's something that was not necessarily. Yeah, I'm going to take a pause here, but I'm going to restate that.
That's no problem.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say my answer to that is twofold. First was kind of the slow burn of the the dissatisfaction, I would say, with kind of that corporate lifestyle. And what I mean by that is that as a third party to a real estate transaction, I really had no say in whether or not a sale closed at the end of the day. So, conceivably, I could do an excellent job. I could fulfill all of my duties as a broker, but still not get paid on a particular transaction because one of the parties decided to walk away at the end of the day. Sure. So, I was really tired of not having any control over the process and kind of being left out in the cold after investing a significant amount of my time into each one of these transactions. And so, when you're only doing 4 to 6 sales a year, and 1 or 2 of those go south, then you take a big hit. So I would say just not being able to control my own destiny, if you can kind of wrap all that up into a nutshell, was leading to a lot of frustration with kind of my current track. But ultimately, what really kind of made me, the catalyst was COVID in 2019. And, once people stopped going into the office, then office transactions stopped. They fell off a cliff overnight. And so, that was really the main catalyst where, I say catalyst, I also look at it as kind of an opportunity for me personally, because I was unhappy, but it really kind of forced me to open up and see, where's the next opportunity for me and where can I invest the next, 15, 20 plus years of my life. So that's really what prompted me to pursue, small business ownership.
Excellent. Well, we have a mutual connection. Mark Cuban, he's a Pittsburgher. He obviously is now a Texan and owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Mark had a great comment on one of his podcasts I listened to. He said, the question was, is now a good time to open a business during or at the conclusion, hopefully, of the pandemic? And he thought it was an excellent time. So who's going to argue with Mark Cuban, right? So that's great. Thank you. Being able to drive your own bus and know which direction you're going in, and that accountability for your actions and building your own professional career and your future. A little bit of transition here. Tell me about the process with Dave Jones, the Franchise Consulting Company. What kind of value can I add to helping you with this investigation? Can you share that openly and honestly?
Yeah, absolutely. As someone that was was very green in the small business arena. Obviously, I had zero experience. I thought Dave was a great resource for me personally. He really kind of guided me through the process in a way that helped me to kind of understand it on my own terms. And what I mean by that is, Dave, you asked me a lot of great questions kind of throughout, and I could tell that you had the knowledge, but what you did for me was you kind of prompted me to discover my own answers to those questions. And what do I mean by questions? You would frame things in a way that was, what are you trying to accomplish in this situation? Or, have you thought about this particular scenario this way or that way? Sure. And, how does that impact your analysis? How do you feel about that? How does that impact your lifestyle? And so you really kind of led me instead of telling me, which, which helped me tremendously. I mean, it helped me to kind of gain that level of understanding that I otherwise wouldn't necessarily have. So you gave me a lot of comfort throughout the process. And, honestly, I wouldn't be here if you wouldn't have called me.
Thanks. Well, that's
so
great.
Without you, I wouldn't be here.
Well, that's awesome to know. One of the things that we get labeled as salespeople, and I tell everybody we don't sell anything. We provide information. We help folks make an educated decision. If we talk to 10 people every day, 1 or 2 will move forward, and that's okay. It's got to be an informed decision. So during your investigation of Five Star Painting in particular and Neighborly Corporation in general, how was the process with them providing you the information you need as a franchise partner, as somebody who's got your back? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm happy to talk about Neighborly and Five Star, because I think very highly of both of them. So the process was a little bit different for me, buying an existing business. Typically when you're investigating a business opportunity, you get to talk to the seller. Sure. And in this scenario, my first conversation was with Neighborly and Five Star Painting, the franchisor. And I had 2 to 3 interviews with Five Star Painting, the franchisor, before I even had access to the seller or to the financials or any of the operating, information of the business. And so, I thought from my perspective that, that gave me some comfort that they actually care about who's coming into their system.
Yes.
And so, once I got through those initial meetings, I had multiple conversations with the president of Five Star Painting, the franchisor. Five Star, the entire team put on kind of an expo, which was like a meet the team day that kind of introduced all prospective franchisees to the system, to their resources, their capabilities, and kind of the individual roles and what the kind of support that you could expect from as a franchisee within their system. So I thought they did a phenomenal job. I'm new to the franchising business. Mm-hmm. Once I gained that understanding of Neighborly and Five Star, I was sold. I was sold on the platform. Especially someone coming from a completely different industry that didn't have the experience, to have the resources and the bandwidth that they provide was very reassuring for me. And I'll tell you, just from personal experience, there's no way I would be here without them. I closed on this business March 1st, and the first 2 months were kind of a transitional period, and they knew exactly what they were doing at the franchisor level. I was assigned business coaches, transitional experts, marketing people that basically said, do this, check here. And my head was spinning out of control, but they knew exactly what was happening, and they got me through it. And there's no way I would have been able to do it without them.
Excellent. Well, I have a saying I share with everybody. Used to be, and for some bad franchises, and there are bad franchises, if you could fog a mirror and write a check, they would have you on board. That's not the case today. Today is, especially for great companies like Neighborly and their presence in the franchise world, it's a true partnership, and it's truly a way to help you be successful and to give you the tools to do that. Okay, great. Final question. Anything you'd like to share to any of the folks out there that are today where you were maybe a year ago, concerning what would be the 1 or 2 tips you'd give them to think about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say at the beginning of this, just make sure that you understand your why. Why do you want to embark on this journey? Because that's gonna carry you through, the challenging times. And it is a long process, but if you have a clear understanding of your why, I think that's the most important, because everything else is going to kind of follow after that. But from a practical level, do your homework, investigate the business, look at the numbers carefully, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, and keep asking questions until you're satisfied.
Awesome. All right, Scott. Well, thanks for coming all the way from Texas back here to Pittsburgh. We appreciate it. I can tell you it's been a pleasure working with you. I love to talk to folks after we've got the deal done, to hear and follow up, and that speaks volumes. So thanks so much. Best to you professionally. I know you're going to be incredibly successful.
Thanks a lot, Dave. I appreciate it.